What is up, world? This is a brand new podcast, a brand new Cultures Interlude podcast called The Real Talk. And instead of starting it off at season one, we're just switching it to the podcast I had previously. If you're an old listener, you know which podcast I'm speaking of. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Real Talk podcast, or not even the Real Talk, just Real Talk podcast. And it's a Cultures Interlude podcast where essentially the goal with this podcast is to share where I'm at on my creative journey and what I'm going through currently, and hopefully you guys can take away something of value from where I'm at and what I'm going through. So now that we got all the housekeeping out the way, thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of the second season. It's exciting to have something you've made be continued, and realizing that it's really in your hands to keep it going. Like, it's up to you if another episode gets recorded or not. Like, it's really your responsibility, when I wouldn't want it any other way, honestly, because so much is out of our control. So focusing on what I can control is brings peace of mind, to say the least. You know, it's week one of just adjusting and reflecting. And if I were to reflect back on this week, like I've moved to a new place. Like, it's the first weekend of being in this new place, and that's you know I really am enjoying, like, the freedom I get, but in that freedom also comes, like, other responsibilities, like maintaining the income needed to live in this new space is probably the biggest. I wouldn't even call it an obstacle, but I'm doing my best to find creative solutions so I can continue, to live in this space. For those who are new here, I should probably introduce you guys to who I am, the person talking. My name is James Morgan. am no longer an LA artist, although I was raised in LA. I've decided to leave because, I feel like, especially if you grow up there, like, it's good to get out of LA just to see other cultures. And LA being as diverse as it is, you do get exposure to a lot of different cultures, but it's not the same as if you were to leave LA and, like, go somewhere else. So I decided to do that after 20 years of living there. I moved there when I was 8 years old, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna spend, all of my 20s in LA, but it turned out exactly how it was supposed to, I suppose. You know, I'm in a place now, though, that I feel like is better for me. Definitely less distractions than LA. Um, so that's always a good thing. I can definitely be more focused on Culture's Interlude and give you guys, the best I could possibly can, and hopefully it inspires you, gives you insight or information you need, or you didn't even know that you needed on your creative journey. But that's the whole goal with this podcast, really, is to just be real with myself and reflect on my creative journey, in hopes that you guys be real with yourselves and reflect on your creative journey and where you are and where you want to go, and making sure your actions match up with where you want to go. But this isn't a self-help podcast at all. This is just one artist reflecting on my creative journey, and I guess a way for myself, really, to document so that I can like look back and be like, wow, look how far I've come since season 2, episode 1. I want to make this, get this back into the routine of content for Culture's Interlude. So here we are, put in actions to our thoughts. Yeah, that's the right way to say that. Um, you know, I'm in an interesting place in my creative journey because I've, after listening to this audiobook that will be linked in the description, podcast description, I've decided to change my whole approach to creativity, really, and not make it a source of income, at least at this current stage of my creative journey, and just creating for the sake of creating and not putting that pressure on myself to make something grand or make something that goes viral just because I need it to, because my financial livelihood depends on it. Like, I'm creating for the sake of creating, and you know, I'm grateful to be able to do that, to be able to have other sources of income so that my creativity doesn't have that burden of, man, it has to do good, or this creative thing I'm doing has to take off or has to catch people's attention and go viral because my livelihood depends on it. And I've kind of taking that out of the equation has given me more freedom with my creativity. I literally just make what I want because it's not about the financial gain for the creativity. Yeah, eventually, with enough practice and enough, not even practice, but just enough time spent on a certain creative task will get me noticed. And I know it will. It's about, honestly, this week has been a test, not even a test, but a reminder. And reflecting on this week, I'm remembering how important it is to stay faithful, that what you're doing creatively, like, will take off, or like will be recognized and will be noticed, because you don't, obviously, as an artist, you don't put in time and energy into something just so that no one sees it, or like nobody, and it's not even that you make it for other people, really. um whatever level you are at, like whether you're just posting something on social media to be seen by the people that follow you, or whether you're hanging something up in a gallery or an exhibition. Like, art is made to be seen, to be consumed, to be digested and sat with, and the good art stays around for a long time, no matter how many other, like, I think about social media and art all the time, and just like how social media kind of is just this microwaved version of art, or social media, it, not social media itself, but I guess what social media has produced, and this microwave version that gives you something that's, yeah, it's cooked through all the way, but it has radiation and it doesn't taste as good because you didn't really take your time in cooking it, or it doesn't look appeasing, appetizing. You know, that's not to say all content is like that. There's a lot of creators out there who take what they do very seriously, and they put time, energy, and effort into what they make. And you know, I just want to remind them, and this is really for myself, but that how many eyes you get on what you make, like, doesn't determine its value, or doesn't determine the quality of it. You determine the quality of it. You determine the value of it. Not how many likes it gets, or how many impressions, or how many people have seen it or engaged with it. Yeah, all that metric stuff, to a degree it does matter, but it's not the end all be all of your creative journey. Like, don't expect to post one video or post one photo and have it go viral. Like, There's people who have been doing their craft for like 10 plus years and are just getting noticed when you probably like think about your favorite artist and when you first heard their music before they were mainstream, and think about how long it took them probably just to get to that point where you first heard their music, and then the point how that gap between you hearing their music and them going mainstream, whatever that even means. But an artist that comes to mind for me is Brent Faiyaz. Like I started listening to him, I want to say 2014, 2015. I was like a junior in high school. Like, yeah, it was honestly when Sonder first dropped, and even Saunders' earlier stuff. Like, no one was on Sonder or Brent then, and if it was like very few people at least, and especially in LA. And to come to find out, Brent was actually in LA when he made those songs, and like, and the fact that a lot of people didn't know about him, even though he was on the LA scene, like in the clubs, trying to get DJs to play his songs and things of that nature. Like he still wasn't the Brent the world knows now, in 2024, so just you don't know when it's going to happen. It's not up for you, it's not up to you to know like the how. Just focus on the what and the why of why it is you're doing what you do, and the rest kind of just falls into place. But I don't want to make this too long. I might keep the YouTube ones a little bit shorter than the podcast ones, just because algorithm attention spans and whatnot. But thank you guys for tuning in to the first Real Talk back. I hope you gain something from this and use it on your creative journey, and it helps you thrive. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.